Okay, so I went and got um, the code that is the jelly buttons and added it to my project. Now, this is going to bring up another issue that's of personal preference. The folders that you use in your project. Let me go ahead and say, okay, bring up my project folders. It's always a good idea to divide your code up into the various folders that that you have. From a standpoint of Jelly Buttons is a utility. It's a custom control. Maybe you create a folder called custom and you put custom controls there. Images goes into its own folder. You don't want to just mix all your images into your parent folder. Um, like we put forms up here. This is where I put all of the ICE Designer forms. We come down here, and if I have just code inclusions where I've built functions that I call, I will put them in their own scripts and includes models if I'm dealing with the database. This is the database layer. If I have screens, I normally put them there. So this particular application that we're showing here is going to only be this one script. So I don't need to use these other folders. I could delete them. Um, for me, I just like having them. I'm just going to leave them there. As we create code, we'll put code over here and it'll pop up. The project folder will show up like Jelly Buttons is inside the folder utilities inside our project folder. So it helps organize your project, makes things easier and faster to find if you use folders. So now moving along in our code over here, we were going to show you what a thread is all about. Ah, yes. So it's not in our root folder. It is in utils. Okay. Um, I have the habit of putting in Linux slashes. You can use Windows or Linux. The system really doesn't care. In Windows world, it doesn't care. In Linux world, it cares. Linux mandates that all of your slashes are like this. So since I work in both environments, Windows doesn't care. I normally use the Linux slash. That way, if I want to port the code over, I don't have to go through and convert all the slashes in my application to be / versus backsplash. So bear with me on that. I'm going to go through this and explain everything, how and why. You can pick and choose what you want to keep. Okay, so our application builds. Life is happy. Maybe, come on. We have resources. I know. Okay, so we're executing. So what has happened? We don't have a screen, do we? No, he's telling us that he's at our breakpoint. So what I'm going to do is use these lovely little buttons up here that says, let's step through. Here is the thread of execution. So he's finished that. And now he's going to jump over. And this is another function. This is jumping into the jelly button because probably the next thing in our code over here was going to be, yes, he jumped down here and now he's loading this for us. So then he's going to go into here. Let's go ahead and put a stop point there with an F9. And then I can say, just go. I don't want to watch that. So now he's in our window, creating our window. So as you can see, it's the thread of execution starts at the top of your program and runs down. So this is important to always keep in mind. I'm going to stop this and let's give you a good for instance. Let me get rid of all these debug things, clear breakpoints. So that means that if you define something, you have to define it high in your app, and then it can come down here when, oh, I don't want to put this as a compiler option. We're going to just always do this. So this is our control loop down here. So if I define a function here, and that really should have an end, that's where our program ends, I can come down here and say, procedure George, huh? Okay, and we'll say end procedure. Now, I don't know how many people use this feature. I like to use it quite heavily. So I have various functions that I define that I get really tired of writing fully out, and I put them in here. So this is called templates, and you can supply a name and write whatever volume of code you want to put in there. And when you place your cursor on the screen, I'm going to say, give me a message box. Okay, so I don't want all the fancy stuff of a return value out of my message box. We're just going to say message box. And no, this was a custom one, isn't it? Darn. Okay, so request, request, what is it? Oh, you know what I'm doing wrong is message. REQ. Okay, so we're going to do a message requester, and we're going to say we're in George, and then we can come over here and say hi. Okay, now there's our message that we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and change that in a minute. Okay, so if I'm here, let's say I want to call my function George, right? That's all I got to do to call George. Now, when I run this, I'm going to get an error because remember the thread of execution. There's my error. The thread of execution hasn't crossed this procedure yet. He has no clue it exists up here because he started at the top of the program and came down. Now, there's easy ways around this. We're going to come up above where we've called it, and we're going to say declare George. Now, declare George says, hey, there's a function somewhere in this application called George. So when I tell you to execute it, know that it's going to be there before you finish compiling the whole application. So you just wait on that error until you're done with my application. So now I can say execute, and we get a hello from George. Isn't that kind of cool? So now, oh, I left that screen on dark, didn't I? Yuck. Okay, so let's go. We can hack this code. Let's see. Not that it's hacking. There's our enumeration, open window procedure. Here we go. And let's see. Isn't that in here somewhere, huh? Let's see. Do. Set window color. Blap. Gone. Okay. So now, some other stuff I want to point out before we jump into code, because this is going to be here's how you do things. So what I want to do is say, let's take a look back here at our code. This is our form, right? We told him to do all kinds of stuff. Let's come over here and set this back to being nothing. Okay. So now our form, next time I generate this, if we change it, it's going to be just fine. So here, what we have is all the code that is our form. Now, Chris generates all of this stuff down here that you can look at. And when you generate your code, he builds all of this code. And that's the beauty of a screen um, generator where you can move the windows around on the form and position by guess and by golly and lining stuff up and not have to worry about all the code that comes behind. So this is all the code that comes behind. So that screen generated, what is that, 30 basically lines of code just for that one screen to show up. If you have an app, some of mine have gone into the hundreds of screens, 125 screens, then that's an awful lot of code that you don't have to write. You could just build your screens and save them and go. Now, the way I have put this together is problematic.